In this video, we will learn about how to load and input data in MATLAB. So the command to load data is load, and you need to put the file name. And we can import or load data from different file types, but we will focus on a text file in this section here. So make sure to add the extension txt when you load the file. So usually we assign the loaded data to a variable, so that's something we give it a name that represent the data, like what we are going to see in an example in MATLAB. So in this example, we like to load data from files. We have two files, and the file should be saved in the same directory where you want to run the script, or where you save the script in this case. So I have two text files. I could open them here. So I have time and I have distance. So let's open the time, and it's a text file. So you can see .txt. And you can see this is only numbers, so 0.5. So this is the time increasing from 0 all the way to 50, and the time in second. And we have another text file. It's a distance, and this is the distance increasing from 0.2 all the way to 20. So it's how we can load the data. So we can give it any name. So maybe for time, I just gave it T. You could give it time or name it with any name you like. And for the distance, I give it a name of D. So that will load the text file, and you can see you have to put it in a quotation, and don't forget to include the extension. So just merely take the name as it is from the current folder name. And after loading them, you could show them. So I could run it like time. So let's first run it, and then here I want to make a plot with time in the x-axis and distance in the y-axis, and I want to make it formatted so the color of the line is red, it's dashed line, and the marks I want them to be in stars. And then I want to give a title, X label, and Y label. So let's run it, and you can see this is the output of the results there. So it creates that the vectors, the D and T, so you can see them here in the workplace. So the D has a 101 lines, and it's one column, as well as the time has 101 rows and one column. And if you like, you can check it here. So I could put just T, and it will show you the results. So you can see it show you the results for the time 0.5, 1, 1.5, and so on. And you could also do the same thing for the other for D. So if I put D, and it will run the distance. Okay, so that's for how to input data. And again, we could input Excel files or MATLAB, which is MAT, so files, but our concentration in this course will be in using or importing data in text format. Next, we will learn about input. In some programs, we want the user to enter data so that we can use it in our program. Like you ask the user to provide you some kind of data, like we call that prompt the user to enter certain data like names or length or any provider. So then your program will process the numbers or data that's provided. So that's the format. Usually you assign the input, whatever given or entered by the user will be assigned to a variable, and you can give that variable any name you want. like in this case X, and it has to start with input, and this is kind of instructions or the prompt that you want, what you want the user to put. And if it is numbers, then the user can just enter the numbers. But if it is a text, if you want the user to enter a text, then it has to be entered between quotations. So that's important to remember. Whatever you put in the quotation here, that will be what the user will see when you run the program. So just make it clear so that what you want to ask them for. And whatever they enter, it will be assigned to the variable that you created for the input. So whatever value they enter, it will be saved or assigned to the variable name. So in this example, like we want X, this is the prompt. So please enter a value for X. And yeah, make sure to leave a space usually between the quotation and the end of that. Otherwise, when the user enter the value, it will be next to the semicolons here. So that's a so it can look better. So that's the prompt that the user will see when they run the code. And then you can see if because we left one space, then there is a space here, and then they can enter the data. As I said, if it is numbers, or in this case vector, there is no need to put the data in quotation. And since we did not put a semicolon, then the X value will show up in the command window. If it is if we want the user to enter a text, then when they enter the text, they should put it in quotation. Like in this case, we want the user to enter yes or no. So if they don't put a single quotation, it will give an error there. So every time, if you need, if the answer or the whatever they need to provide is text, they need to put that in single quotation. But we'll see in the next slide that we have a way around it, so for the user or to avoid putting the quotation. So mainly to avoid asking the user to put the quotation, we could put after the prompt, we could put the S in quotation. So that shows mainly let's inform or let MATLAB know that we are asking the user to enter a string or a text, so that, and they don't need to write that text in between single quotation. So that's okay. Like in this case, if they just put yes without single quotation, it's still MATLAB will accept it. So that mainly make it more user friendly for the user, so they don't have to put it in quotation, and it will work, I think, more efficient. So let's look at an example in MATLAB. So here I wanted to ask the user to enter two numbers, then make a simple code that add the two numbers and provide the results for that. So that could be any numbers. So this is why sometimes we want the user to enter the numbers. And as I said, since I'm asking for numbers, so there is no need to enter the numbers in quotation, and I can give them any. I can assign the input to any variable. So I just did X, Y, and then the results will be in A. And for this one, I need to output. So as using the printf, we learned about this in another video. And this is the first. I want the first number, the second number, and the third number, and I want all of them to be integers. So this is what the D here, and I put them in the same order. So the X will go here, the Y will go to the second identifier, and the A will go to the third. So let's run it and see how the prompt will show up. So the first one will say enter the first number, and as you can see here, it's important to leave the space here. Otherwise, when they enter the number, it will just be with no space. It does not look good. So let's run it. So you can see when you run it, there's a space there. So enter the first number. I could say maybe 2. Enter the second number, 3. And if that's working, we have A should be X plus Y. So it should add the 2 numbers. So mainly the 2 is assigned to the X. The 3 is assigned to the Y. Then A should add the 2 to the 3. Then the fprintf should give us this statement. So you can see the result of adding 2 and 3 is 5. So that's mainly what happened here. Okay, let's look at a second example here. So the first one here, we want the user to enter their names. So you can see I assigned that to name. So and then enter their height in foot and inches. So these are numbers, so there's no issue here. But remember here, since the name is a text, so the user needs to put to enter the name in quotation. Otherwise, they will get an error message. And for this one is okay. Then I have a if statement. So again, the name will be assigned to I put S there, and then the foot will be assigned to go here, and the third variable inches will go to the last identifier there. So these are the variables, and as I said, you could name them different if that works better, but they should be representative of what you are trying to save there. Okay, let's run it. So enter your name, and remember, since it's a text, we need to put it in single quotation. Then maybe the height. This is a number, so there is no need for quotation. And inches also number, so there is no need for quotation. Then the fprintf. So you can see it worked. So let's now try to run it again and see if we forget to put the single quotation, what kind of error messages do we get. If I run it another time, I just put the name without quotation. So you can see it asked me to enter the name again because it did not identify it, because this should be a text. This time it went through, then it will just keep, it will accept it and go to the next prompt, and it worked. If you have a text, if you want the user to enter a text, and to avoid putting the text in quotation, you just put a comma in the prompt and followed by S. So that's mainly letting MATLAB knows to expect a text, and it will do the conversion itself. So that's in this case, we could put the name without single quotation. So let's run it. So enter the name, and you can see it was accepted because we have the S there, and it gave us the output. Okay, so that's maybe what I want you to know about input. So it has different applications that we always see. There are some cases we want the user to provide us the information, then the program will process it based on what the user